Well, hello everyone. Happy Aloha Friday and Good Friday as well to the Christians out there. So today I want to, well, I'm very excited. I'm very excited to have the one and only principal broker of Keller Williams Honolulu, Jennifer Andrews. She has been a licensed realtor since 2001 and a broker since 2005. She has extensive real estate experience ranging from general brokerage sales to project sales and management. So as I said, she's currently our principal broker and she's here today to talk about several things. And if any of our viewers have questions or comments that they want Jennifer to answer, we are open to that. So again, welcome Jennifer to our Friday Live.
Thank you, Adrian. I appreciate you having me, and thank you for inviting me to your show and having the opportunity to speak to all your guests. Exciting.
Yes, and we're gonna also I think we're gonna have you on the radio as well because we hit different audiences. Some of the depending on the generation, right? We have maybe like the younger people are on Facebook and social media, or we want to get this information out because it's important. So with the market, the market, as crazy as it is, it's just low inventory. It's just I've never seen anything like this. I mean, I've been licensed since 2004, and this is just interesting times. So interesting times calls for interesting situations and some risk management. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Risk management really is about best practices. The question is always, could I or should I, in terms of anything that's done within the real estate realm. And that only is not regarding the practitioners themselves, but also with those that are engaging in real estate, whether you're a buyer, seller, or investor. And Adrian, as you said, this is unprecedented times. I came into the market at the bottom of a market. I actually kind of entered in real estate in 2000, got my license in 2001. But at that time, the market was different in the sense that it was the complete opposite. We had a huge surplus of real estate because it was such a down market, and it was really difficult to get buyers to buy. This is the complete opposite of the spectrum, where there is unprecedented low inventory. We're not talking about months, it's weeks. And some neighborhoods, weeks, days. I mean, usually you might have in a healthy market, an average, in a stable market, you would have about 6 months of inventory. In a seller's healthy market, you have about 3 to 4 months. That's a very still stable. Here, it's really weeks, and some neighborhoods you're not even seeing any active listings. So it is a really already a tight, low inventory market pre-COVID, with the dynamics of COVID and how people are transitioning into different living situations and migrations in and out of state. That's really different. So risk management, number one, is to always be truthful. And it doesn't matter if you are a practitioner or a prospective client. Being truthful is number one, because how someone can assist you as a client is only going to be based on the information that you provide, good or bad. And it's the same thing with a practitioner. Is you don't want to have to be the bearer of bad news or seem like, look, I don't want to be negative Nancy, but you need to know the market out there. You need to be prepared for the market that you're entering. And so honesty really is the best policy. That's how we have to protect the clients, is to make sure that they understand the risk and consequences and the benefits of any market. The other is to disclose. So we always say this, right? And disclose. Again, good or bad. It's not about whether someone feels that they need to disclose it. It's if you know something, disclose it. And again,
all material facts. If it affects the value or even could affect the value, it's just, you got to let them know.
Yeah. And material fact really is subjective, to who is taking in that information. What one person might think is manini, other people might think, oh, you know what, that's a really big deal. And for me, I don't know if I can handle that situation or whatever that issue might be a cause of concern. Those conversations are actually really good because as a practitioner, as a real estate licensee, you can have that conversation with the client. Why does that bother you? What about it that concerns you? How can I help address this matter with you, good or bad?
I think one good example of that is, like, especially it's here in Hawaii, is we get this a lot. Has anyone passed away in the house? So that's really depending on where your client is coming from and their cultural beliefs. Because some people like, no, we're not gonna proceed. Now others are like, I don't care.
Yeah, I've had both. I've had both, and even again culturally, we need to be sensitive. Some depending on where they're from, even just seeing some areas that they may not, be okay with. That's part of those conversations. The most uncomfortable conversations are really the most important ones that you have to have. Yes. Yeah. And that's disclose. Yeah. And it's for the protection of the client. It's like, again, I need you to be aware of all the information so you can make the best informed decision that's right for you moving forward.
For both parties, the buyer and the seller, right? Because when things are found out later, it usually ends up in, some kind of litigation, lawyers get involved, and that's never fun for anybody. Like, no one wants to spend their time doing that. So it's honest to a fault.
Sellers, yes, and for those that are sellers, if something has been made aware, you can't get sued on what you've been told, what you've shared. So what if sellers worry about claims? If you've disclosed it and someone has received that information and moved forward with the sale, then they can't come back and say they weren't made aware of something and try to go after a seller. So again, what what you think might or might not be important, disclose it. That's, again, a huge rule when it comes to risk management. And the other thing, again, for all sides is keep track of deadlines. When you're in a contract, I think oftentimes people forget the importance of deadlines, why they're in place. Adrian, you and I know that our contract fluxes every day throughout the transaction. Things happen. Deadlines move, deadlines change, but you got to keep track of those deadlines. They're put in there for a reason. And that's, so everybody knows that obligations are being met. And if they're not, to find out what the situation is, so everybody can work it out.
And I just had that conversation yesterday. I have some very detailed sellers who, they are everything's very black and white, and they're following the timeline as they should. And I love clients like this. They make our job easier because they really understand. And it was interesting because the other side, the buy side, is kind of like loosey-goosey with their deadlines. And they're like, no, the final walkthrough cannot be past this date per the contract. And I'm like, well, if they want to blow past that deadline, like that's on them, and that's for their protection. And that's their agent's job, is to keep track of the timeline. So be flexible with it and just be understanding that that's for the buyer's protection, and just you got to cooperate even if they have passed. So it's just pay attention to those timelines.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, what people don't realize is whether or not they accept or don't accept, approve or disapprove of a contingency within the transaction, it doesn't really matter once a deadline is passed. Your rights have been waived. Mm-hmm. So even if a buyer says, I still want to go in and do my final walkthrough, Well, the seller may allow you to go in there, but it doesn't revive that provision and give the buyers their rights back on anything that they want to address during the walkthrough. So that's where deadlines are super important. And I've always made a habit, and I recommend a habit of doing everything a day ahead of the deadline. Just in case. Yeah. Always think one day ahead. Yeah. That's your buffer, because some people think, well, as long as I have a continuing conversation while the deadline is ongoing, we're okay. And that's one of the biggest mistakes. Yep. Especially during the home inspection, the property inspection period. That's one of the biggest mistakes is people think, well, we were in negotiations, we were talking. Yeah. It's sorry. Yeah. It's great that you had. Yeah. Put it in. Oh, yes, absolutely. The other risk mitigation I should probably is always have it in writing. Always have your communication in writing. As we know, we're being told, because we have really great training, which will be my other reason why I joined Keller Williams, which is that we have great training. And part of that is working with other professionals. So we get the guidance of real estate attorneys to help us so that we can know what our best practices are. And that's put it in writing. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen.
That's right. And we have that practice with our team. Like, all conversations are immediately recapped in the subject line, property address, dash, whatever that topic is. So it's easy to search and find, should you end up in a litigious situation, or, you just may need to grab it for whatever reason to remind everybody what was discussed.
Yes. And you folks do a really amazing job, by the way, of your communication. I love it. Again, exactly like you said, what property, what client, what the situation is. You keep everybody informed so that there's no misunderstandings about what conversations were had. And that's really important, because you can have a really long conversation and not really remember the details. And that's what you have a professional there for, is to help to keep those details in line. So you folks do a really great job.
So excellent tips on the risk management, especially in this kind of crazy market that we're in. So moving on to my next question, because of the low inventory, what are your biggest tips for a buyer that's trying to get into escrow? What are you seeing that's actually working?
Number one is going to be mindset.
Okay, mindset.
Yeah, mindset. Always don't be discouraged. It could be the first time you put an offer in and you don't get accepted. It could be the 10th time you put an offer in. Don't be discouraged. You always have to have the mindset of, it's going to happen. If I keep pursuing this and trying and putting my best foot forward, it will happen. And strategy is really going to be based upon you as an individual buyer and the conversations that you have with your agent on the property that you're interested in. But if you come into the situation defeated, you won't be open to having those honest discussions and be willing to talk to your agents to say, this is what I really need, the wants and needs. This is what's really important to me. And I'm okay if I don't have this. And also be open to your parameters. You're not always going to get your dream home the first time around, and that's okay. That's how most of us start, in business. And
just get your foot in the door.
Get your foot in the door. Yeah, yep. Your first home is a stepping stone, and even if it's not your first home, just be open. Be open to other areas, neighboring areas that are comparable to what you're looking for. Be open to different types of properties that will have what you need, and be okay with, I don't have all my wants, but I have my needs, and be flexible. So in this market, you have to keep your options open and be prepared. Be prepared. Have all your ducks in a row. Talk to your loan officer if there's financing involved. Talk to your agent, know what's involved in the transaction so that there are no surprises. If you go in there with an open mind and with the confidence that you know how to proceed, that's the best plan. Yeah, because there's no control over right now about the market inventory. Yeah.
And one thing I'd like to add, and I think that KW does an excellent job of teaching on this, on the purchase contract strategies, is that I think like the question is, besides price, what's important to the seller? And sometimes,
Yes.
you can come in with these very attractive terms that doesn't really cost the buyer anything, but it really makes a big difference to the seller. So, having those, again, being outside of the box and be willing to be flexible.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. If you are not rich in cash, be rich in terms. Be rich in your conditions. And that's part of the flexibility and being open to strategy. Not everybody can compete if somebody has more cash to play with. So be rich in terms.
I like that. Rich in terms. Okay, so I've got a couple more questions before we wrap things up. Give me your top 3 reasons as to, why should an agent join KW?
I would say number 1, Keller Williams is a tech and training company. That if you're new to the business, or even if you're an experienced agent, there's a wide variety of support that Keller Williams can offer. And we are very heavy into training and providing technology. So there's different avenues and different levels of ability for growth and expansion. So that would be, for me, number 1. I was really surprised at the amount of training. I mean, every day there is training. There is training on a local level. There's training on a regional level. There's training on a national level. There is so much training, and there's so much opportunity for technology that is really great because of the digital world that we live in. We are in a digital world, and we will continue to accelerate in that way. And so we are ahead of the curve. We were already there before other companies were trying to be there. And I think this past year has really shown that. So that would be it. Also, culture. The culture is so amazing. Everybody is so supportive. We know that there's a team culture where, everybody wants to work together, but that's not just an official team setting. Mm-hmm. When I'm in the office, I see agents engaging. I hear them on the phone, and they're helping each other out. That's what it's about, being able to work with people that you're proud to be working with. That's so important to say. If I'm going to be surrounded by a group of people, this is the kind of caliber of agents that I want to be with, because that's going to help me grow. That's going to help me and my clients, being surrounded by people who know the business and that are engaged in it. And in addition, Keller Williams is very different in that they're about business building. They have business building models. So your ability to have a different type of business models for your growth in real estate, I think, is what is also very attractive. You're in the business of real estate as a practitioner. So you are an independent contractor, and you got to treat yourself as if you are a business. And Keller Williams provides the opportunities for learning and technology and tools so that you know how to run your business. So those are, to me, top 3 things, besides being the number 1 market franchise.
Yes.
Right in there.
Yes. Yeah. It's been life-changing, for us and our team, and really eye-opening as far as, looking at things as a business and the numbers, and, then just more of I think before KW we were more entrepreneurial, and then once becoming part of KW, there's just been a lot more of the business training and really understanding the numbers. It's so important, and they teach us that. We learn that all the time.
If you know your business and you don't have to focus on the on that because you have it running smoothly, that gives you more opportunity to focus on the business that you're in, which is real estate. And I have to say also, because of the branding being number one, as far as the franchise brand, you have so many connections. You have that network that's not just local. It truly is a global network.
Oh, yeah. I just handed over, I think I had like 4 or 5 referral checks that showed up. And I had given them over to Alicia, our transaction coordinator, to deposit. So that's another wonderful benefit with having so many agents and being able to send referrals back and forth and know, that hey, your client's going to be taken care of.
That's right. Your clients are going to be taken care of. It's great to have that network.
So lastly, I wanted to ask you about the Real Estate Commission and your recent nomination to be a commissioner. Could you explain a little bit about that before we wrap things up?
Yeah. The Real Estate Commission is comprised of different realtors from each island and public members, and it's really about the enforcement and regulation of the industry. So number one is consumer protection. That is the goal of the Real Estate Commission, is to ensure that the laws that are in place are to protect the consumer, and that's through the regulation of the industry. So I am very honored to have been nominated for that position. And if should I get appointed, which I hope I will, I would be very proud to serve on behalf of not just the state, the public, the real estate industry, but of course, as a member of Keller Williams, because compliance is number one. As a PB,
yes.
That's my job. So,
and you were nominated by the governor.
The governor. Right? It is a governor-appointed position, so it was such a great honor to be appointed by the governor and nominated. Yes, and I look forward to speaking with the Senate, in hopes of getting my appointment confirmed.
Well, that is so exciting, and I'm looking forward to celebrating that once you get the official acceptance. And yeah, it's definitely an honor to be part of Keller Williams Honolulu, and having you as our principal broker leading the way, and keeping us all out of hot water. You have a kind of a different way of looking at things, and maybe it's more like a bigger picture. Really understanding where things can go wrong, and this is why we need to make these adjustments. So you really have had some great foresight on the operations and the compliance to just keep us in good standing, and keep the the clients and the consumers also informed and protected. Yeah. So thank you.
Absolutely. Number one is we always have to serve in our client's best interest. Number one.
Number one. That's the fiduciary duty.
Yes. That's right. Our fiduciary duties, care and obligations. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jennifer, for being our Friday Live guest. And we'll have you also come join us for the radio show. We'll have some more fun with you on a different platform. And have a great weekend. And just stay with me for a couple minutes. I'm going to end the broadcast now.